Here's my audience. So the overall issue and observation about this speech is the entire topic of student loan debt. The purpose of this speech is to educate about the burdens of student loan debt and the policies that should be taken in order to prevent student loan crises in the future. The audience in this speech caters to college-seeking high school students, prospective undergraduate students, graduate students currently enrolled, and the parents who co-sign for student loans. Did you know currently Americans owe a combined of $1.34 trillion on their student loans, creating the highest consumer debt in the United States other than mortgages? Without acting, the number of borrowers on student loans will increase, creating a default on student loans to be the new country crisis. As a result of being educated on the issues that student loans create, consumers should default to finding other means of funding college moving forward, having student loans be prospectively out of the question. The overall issue of student loans will be addressed. The causes and effects on families and students currently in college will be examined, and the plan of action to decrease consumer student loan debt will be put in place. Student loans are a significant issue within this country. To be analysis of the problem, the use of student loans in order to obtain a degree on different levels seems to be the only thinkable option of people who want to go to college. There is not a set-in-stone policy provided to prospective college students to help them minimize the use of federal private student loans. The student loan debt crisis starts with insufficient education and information when trying to obtain a student loan. The need for the degree compared to prior generations has changed drastically. Compared to the prior generations, if a person were required to accomplish an associate's or bachelor's, that would suffice them enough moving into a career field. The aggregate subsidized Stanford student loan for undergraduates dependents jumped from $17,250 to equivalent of $2,300 today. If we do not stop utilizing student loans, more Americans become burdened to a student loan payment on top of their other accumulated debts in life. The average home mortgage can be paid off in roughly 15 years, but student loan debt borrowers currently today don't actually pay off their student loans for 20 years. How can you refinance a house but you can't refinance student loans? Defaulting on student loans will experience an all-new high. Based off the federal student loans, a person has 270 days to make their student loan payment. After that, if it is missed, the student loan will actually become a default status. Whether the student loan is federal or private, the government has the ability to take legal action like suing you, garnish your wage, so if you do obtain a paycheck, they can take from that. They can even take from your social disabilities checks and more. They even stack on penalties and late payments if you do not make them. A higher significance would be university hikes. As this is provided by the government, it will continue to occur, increasing the use of subsidized and unsubsidized student loans through colleges. Without education of student loan debt, the issue will never be fixed, generating even bigger issues for the generations moving forward. So what can we do to actually decrease this issue? One major thing the government needs to do is implement a program that only allows student loan debts to take out a specific amount of debt. Sometimes student loan debt is projected off of family income. It should be projected off the student's income. Although the government wants to generate a profit, the ability to pay back student loans is only going to continue to decrease. Consideration of other colleges should also come to mind. Community colleges or trade schools will help increase generating a revenue within the consumer working market and will also help create a different variety of jobs. Universities should put a lock-in tuition rate per year rolled to minimize the amount of debt accrued before graduating. The overall estimated total amount of money spent on education can then be assessed up front, and the question by parents and students can be asked, can I actually afford this long term in 4 years if I do want to obtain that bachelor's degree? Discrepancies in not being able to pay for tuition then will no longer be an issue. In order to solve this, education among students and parents will provide a more sufficient knowledge before growing the debt. Financial literacy classes should be provided to undergraduate students so they realize the financial risk they or their parents are now taking on. Financial advising should also be brought to students when they are on campus or via online to discuss the students about how much is being paid towards their education, and they will understand when making that payment their school really matters. This will help increase grade point averages and grades in each class. So if we actually do decrease the use of student loan debt will then be more controlled and education will seem more doable. Community college will not just seem like a second option because your child wants to go to a 4-year university off of the bat. Grants and scholarships will then be utilized more because parents and students will then put more effort into trying to fund their college up front. Overall consumer debt throughout the nation will also decrease. Student loan forgiveness will not be thought of as a hoax due to people actually paying off their debts. Wealth cannot be obtained if they do have a debt. That makes wealth being able to be obtained easier without having the big student loan debt payment each month. What happens if we don't control the student loan debt crisis? Graduation rates will not increase whatsoever, dropout rates will increase, and the amount of people trying to obtain a degree and get into the job market will not increase. The debt will always be owed and now can be wiped zero just by bankruptcy. Consumer debt will continue to be an all-time high. This is why we need to develop good financial habits. But if we keep signing and co-signing off student loans, this will never happen. Parents will encourage their children to take on more debt, creating awful spending habits. Co-signers on the student loans will then be first to take over the payments. So when their children turn 30 and they're not able to pay it, you have your family member who's 60 years old now trying to retire, but they can't because they have to pay for your undergraduate or graduate degree. Student loans can be used, but use them wisely. Financial literacy is a major contributing factor. Figure out other payment options before signing up for the thousands of dollars in debt you're about to accrue. Here, the overall use of student loans were assessed. The type of student loans were also talked about. The cause and effect of families was examined, and a plan of action in order to decrease consumer loans will now be put in place. Think about the outcome you will get when you are attaining your student loan debt. Are you going to college just to get a degree? Are you going to college to actually further your education to move you forward in the market for a job? As a result of being educated on the issues student loans create, consumers should default to finding other means of finding college moving forward, and having student loan debt should not be first priority. Thank you.